Who would have ever thought that 2025 would be the year of the great layoffs and tariffs? This is not the news that you're needing in this moment, and especially with the cost of daily living going up with no end in sight.
There was so many expectations awaiting many Americans that were excited to see President Donald Trump back in office for the comeback administration. He was very focused on connecting with the working American, making promises to ensure economic growth, immigration reform, and crime. But it's now November 2025, and it seems as if this year has been an emotional roller coaster for many Americans. And the layoffs of hundreds of thousands of jobs across many industries have people looking at the fine print of their vote. AI has also sped up this current state of the economy, and many jobs that were promised to American workers are somehow being given to robots. There's literally Amazon plants all over the United States that have one side of a large work area with humans and the other side with AI bots that are packing, loading, unloading, and doing other tasks. With no breaks needed, and they can far outpace the work hours of a human employee.
Exactly, because I can remember back in 2024 there were many on the right and MAGA political sector made their request known with their favorite candidate, Donald Trump. Many of the issues they had gripe about were immigration reform, put America first, and to remove DEI diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that companies and universities had implemented in their structure. Especially after the Black Lives Matter movement that occurred during the COVID-19 pandemic. Many Americans were in a shutdown and were limited to stay home. During that time, they were primarily forced to watch current affairs on their news stations. During that time, the murder of a Black American named George Floyd at the hands of a white American police officer as he placed his knee over the windpipe of the detained person, George Floyd. Also, a young Black American man by the name of Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia was hunted down by a group of white men and shot and killed. He was only 19 years old, and camera surveillance in the neighborhood he was walking in showed that he was innocent of any crimes. So with America and the world on a COVID lockdown, what they had witnessed firsthand in regards to the ongoing brutality of Black Americans, they protested all over the world. Companies took initiative to also make corrections in hiring practices that were influenced by racial discrimination. DEI was created and was a new program that provided skilled and qualified individuals that were female, LGBTQ, and disabled persons. But many Americans that didn't fall under those categories felt that this was another unfair labor practice. Especially after the COVID restrictions were raised, people started to revert their stance about fair representation and protection and the value of Black lives. Media outlets, political podcasts, and individuals who never really supported even the value of Black lives being treated fairly. Donald Trump's base raised their disappointment for it, and they required that DEI be completely removed if they gave him a vote.
Yeah, we all saw it coming. America has a strange inherent past of white American men taking out their frustration with their own personal failures onto people that have less power in this country. But instead of learning from their generations before them, and the horrific events that they created, instead, it's more comforting to unite as white men and scapegoat our own internal issues onto others. Even in the past, there were threats and violence against our communities and towns, like Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street in 1921, or how about Oscarville, Georgia? In 1950, the flooding of an entire Black American town killed possibly up to thousands of innocent Black people. And why? Because it was never about what the Black men and women did wrong. It was about their ability to perform above the expectation even when they were reduced to nothing during and after the emancipation of slavery.
Ask any British historian of today about the roots of America's forefathers. Ask them what class they had belonged to that landed on the Mayflower.
They were not kings, dukes, or landlords. Oh my goodness, no. They were the underclass of British society. The current American that recognizes America as their manifest destiny first has their roots in Britain. They were the escaped, fugitives that were on escape from the king and his rule that every subject in the land would be under the Church of England. Some fled to the Netherlands at first, however many would escape to the New World, which is America in today's time. There was a company in Britain that they organized to leave with called the Virginia Company. These escapees that fled from the British Crown had limited opportunities to support themselves and families unless they would continue their inherited class of serfdom, which is the lowest class of British society. So were the commoners CBY, the standards of 17th century Britain. Some of them would also be under Dutchmen to be able to garner a ship ride to the New World. Religion is really a slight percentage on why they were mainly motivated to take such a dangerous voyage across the water in those days. Honestly, who would risk their comfortable lives and future and the lives of their children if they were well off or even decently existing in Britain during those times?
Oh, exactly, because it was never about the town or the city. Just like DEI was never about the progress of the nation, or the fairness of hiring practices of not only Black Americans that have inherited discrimination through their ancestors that were slaves. It was about the control of the white American man and what he perceives as his right. However, there is no right to nothing in America. This is a stolen land from an indigenous nation of people, and it was occupied by fleeing Europeans from England that were slaves and serfs themselves. It is about reinventing themselves to no play the Lord and Duke. DEI represents that they are no Lord and no Duke. These are lessons and past experiences that continue to recycle down from each white American's generation, and only a handful of white Americans that understand that their survival in a free and democratic nation that is not ruled by an outside communist leader and regime is to open to shared economic paths. No one that has citizenship to the United States should have any type of designated program to keep other citizens accountable for their hiring practices.
It stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion, a framework and initiative focused on creating fair and welcoming environments where everyone feels valued and has a voice. Diversity is the presence of varied identities, such as race, gender, age, and ethnicity. Equity is providing fair access to opportunities based on individual needs, and inclusion is creating a culture where everyone feels respected, supported, and can participate fully. Why diversity, equity, and inclusion was never your problem? Let us have a real, candid discussion on why DEI was a threat to the majority with generational and historical wealth and power within the United States. Political fuel and moral panic. Right-wing political movements have weaponized diversity, equity, and inclusion to stoke fears and mobilize voters. Politicians and media figures often portray DEI as reverse discrimination or a threat to meritocracy, even though data shows white Americans remain advantaged in most sectors. DEI helps the very small population of citizens that have been historically excluded from gaining fair employment opportunities. According to ongoing studies, diversity, equity, and inclusion often becomes a stand-in for broader societal shifts, like demographic change, globalization, and evolving norms around race and gender. For some white Americans, especially those in economically or socially vulnerable positions, DEI can feel like a symbol of their declining influence in a pluralistic society. Please subscribe to Pop of Genius on Urban Politics. Like and share. Thank you so very much for your continued support. It means a lot.